There are major changes in laws and norms surrounding the issue of same-sex marriages and the rights of LGBTQ people around the world. Public opinion on the acceptance of homosexuality in society remains sharply divided by country, region, and continent. In today's video, we shall be talking about African countries that have criminalized LGBTQ. The abbreviation LGBT stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. The popular variant, LGBTQ, adds the letter Q for those who identify as queer or are questioning their sexual or gender identity. Because there are so many identities that involve gender and sexuality, it can be challenging to select a word or acronym that makes everyone feel included, though that is the intent. According to many of our sources, LGBTQ activities became so popular as from the 1980s. About 5% of the world's population consists of people only attracted to the same sex. Unfortunately, we do not have the exact number of LGBT in Africa. However, we found out that South Africa has the most LGBT-friendly legislations in the continent. Some people and organizations now use terms like Two-Spirit and 2S-LGBTQ+ when talking about gays or lesbians. Several researchers have said that most African countries impose restrictive policies against LGBTQ communities, with few offering basic operations. Penalties for gay sex generally include fines and prison time. In a moment, we shall be looking at some 30 countries in Africa, out of 54, that have criminalized LGBTQ. Make sure you like this video if you find it interesting, and as well subscribe to our channel, and you will always get very interesting videos. Out of the 32 African countries that have criminalized LGBT and related activities, 30 have ratified the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, dubbed ICCPR, but only 18 have submitted themselves to the jurisdiction of the UN Human Rights Committee by ratifying the optional protocol of the ICCPR. Let's now discover these countries in alphabetical order. 1. Algeria. Same-sex sexual activity is prohibited in Algeria under the 1996 Penal Code. Sentences include a maximum penalty of 3 years imprisonment and a fine, and there is some evidence of the law being enforced in recent years. In 2020, some 44 people were convicted for attending a same-sex marriage event in Algeria. In August 2023, regulatory authorities in the country suspended all programs on Solemn TV channel for 20 days after they broadcasted a movie scene of a gay marriage. 2. Burundi. Homosexual promoters and actors in Burundi have often said their lives have been marked with increased discrimination and fear. This is because in 2009, LGBT was banned from the country. Burundi criminalizes same-sex sexual activity between men and women, and sentences include a maximum penalty of 2 years imprisonment and a fine worth hundreds of thousand francs. An education policy in Burundi, adopted in June 2011, states that students can be expelled from a school on the basis of homosexuality. That same year, President Pierre Nkurunziza stated that his country is not ready to legalize any LGBTQ-related activities. 3. Cameroon. Cameroon's National Communication Council prohibited the broadcasting of homosexual scenes in June 2023, stating that it has power to suspend a media outlet for promoting values that are contrary to cultural practices and laws of the Republic. Article 347 of Cameroon's Penal Code criminalizes sexual contact between members of the same sex, with a penalty ranging from 6 months to 5 years in prison, and a fine of 20 to 200,000 francs CFA. There have been consistent reports of widespread and systematic discrimination and violence against LGBT people in Cameroon in recent years. They are often victims of assault, harassment, threats, extortion, and torture. 4. Chad. Chad has made homosexuality a crime, adopting a penal code that bans gay sex for both men and women. 5. Comoros. In Comoros, LGBT persons usually face legal challenges not experienced by non-LGBT residents. They are regularly prosecuted by the government and additionally face stigmatization among the border population. The penalty for gay activities in Comoros is 5 years imprisonment and a fine of 50,000 to 1 million francs, depending on the intensity. 6. Eritrea. Several reports of discrimination and violence carried out against LGBT people in Eritrea have been made in recent years. This is simply because the 2015 Penal Code of the country criminalized homosexual conduct. 7. Ethiopia. Ethiopians are renowned for being welcoming, considerate, and cooperative people who, above all, have a high sense of moral rectitude. There is no protection for people who publicly declare themselves as gay or lesbian in Ethiopia. According to the UN Refugee Agency, there is a maximum sentence of 10 years imprisonment that can be imposed on LGBT people in Ethiopia if they also use violence, trickery, or fraud in their activities. 8. Gambia. It is a crime to be gay in Gambia. Some years ago, people who were found having consensual same-sex relationships faced up to 14 years in prison, until October 2014, when a criminal code doubled the punishment to life imprisonment. Several police investigations have been opened in Gambia to sort out any LGBT practitioners and promoters. 9. Ghana. Same-sex conduct is illegal in Ghana, but members of parliament introduced a new anti-LGBTQ draft bill in 2022 that will fully criminalize LGBTQ+, along with rights groups and anyone supporting them. This came at a time when homosexual people in the West African country attempted advocating their rights. Marrying or intending to marry someone who has had gender reassignment surgery is also criminalized to 5 years imprisonment or more for severe cases. 10. Guinea. There is no recognition of same-sex unions in Guinea. According to Article 325 of the country's penal code, any incident acts or acts against nature committed with an individual of the same sex is punishable by imprisonment for 6 months to 3 years and a fine of 100,000 to 1 million Guinean francs. People in same-sex relations are not allowed to donate blood in Guinea, as health officials say they are likely to have HIV infections. 11. Kenya. Many Kenyans believe that gay rights are against their religion, whether Christian or Muslim. LGBT individuals and same-sex couples, if found, are obliged to pay heavy fines and face imprisonment for up to 21 years. They are not allowed to adopt. Gay sex is illegal in Kenya, but the government may tolerate people from other African countries, including Uganda, who faced persecution in their home countries because of their sexual orientation. 12. Liberia. In Liberia, same-sex sexual activity is prohibited under the Penal Law of 1976, which criminalizes acts of sodomy broadly defined. The provision carries a maximum penalty of 1 year imprisonment. The Liberian government works consistently to eliminate any homosexual acts in the country. In November 2019, an HIV testing center was stormed, and a number of LGBT people were attacked. Approximately 10 were injured and 5 hospitalized, including 1 being stabbed. 13. Libya. Since the fall of the Gaddafi regime in 2011, Libya's status regarding homosexuality remains unchanged. In Article 404 of the 1953 Penal Code, all homosexual activities are considered illegal. The country's criminal code prohibits all sexual activity outside of a lawful marriage between a man and a woman. In the 90s, the General People's Congress began to approve purification laws designed to enforce a harsh view of Islamic law on the population. Libyan courts were given the power to use all kinds of punishments against persons found violating traditional laws, such as gays or lesbians. 14. Malawi. Same-sex relationships are offensive to the Malawian law. Policemen often physically assault, arbitrarily arrest, and detain people found guilty of LGBT acts. The law states that the crime can carry a maximum penalty of 14 years imprisonment. Malawi does not only criminalize same-sex activities and expansion of gender identity, it also fails to properly protect other vulnerable groups, such as women, children, and people with disability, from sexual offenses. This simply means there is no protection for disabled LGBT people in the country. 15. Mauritania. Both male and female same-sex activity is illegal in Mauritania, whose law is based on Sharia, accompanied by a French civil law. Sharia is an Islamic religious law. According to Human Dignity Trust, Muslim men who have sex with men are eliminated. But a death penalty has not been imposed since 1986. Women who have sex with other women face prison and also pay a fine of 5,000 to 60,000 Mauritanian Ogaya. Mauritius was one of the African nations that had anti-LGBT laws, but in October 2023, the country's Supreme Court declared unconstitutional a law that criminalized same-sex acts, saying that a ban on gay sex does not reflect indigenous values. Hope you are learning a lot from this video. Encourage us to keep making videos like this for you by liking this video and subscribing to the New Tourist channel. Let's continue. 16. Morocco. Homosexuality is illegal and punishable by prison time and fines under Article 489 of the Moroccan Penal Code. The country is not a safe destination for LGBTQ+ travelers who wish to openly express sexuality or gender identity outside a very rigid heterosexual binary. Moroccan police disproportionately targets LGBT people, and attitudes towards the homosexual persons remain negative throughout the nation. 17. Namibia. Recently, Namibia's upper house of parliament passed a law banning same-sex marriage and criminalizing its supporters. This law defines marriage as a union between persons of the opposite sex, and spouse as half of a legal union between two persons, born genetically male and female. Anyone found guilty of solemnizing, participating in, promoting, or advertising homosexual activities could face imprisonment for up to 6 years and a fine of up to $5,500. 18. Nigeria. In Nigeria, same-sex marriage is illegal under a 2014 law and is punishable by 14 years imprisonment. It has come to our attention that many LGBTQ Nigerians are fleeing to countries with pro-LGBT laws to seek protection. Vigilant groups in Nigeria have added homosexuality to their terms of reference. These groups are organized by community members, given authorization by the community to maintain some sort of order and security across the nation. 19. Senegal. Gay sex is punishable by up to 5 years in prison in Senegal, where arrests and prosecutions of LGBT members have risen sharply, according to a 2020 global review by the International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Trans, and Intersex Association. 20. Sierra Leone. Male same-sex sexual activity is illegal in Sierra Leone, and imprisonment for life is possible, with hard labor, although the law is seldom enforced. However, female same-sexual activity in the country is allowed, but we do not have justifications for this. What we got from most resources is that lesbians risk being victims of planned rapes, as the community attempts to correct their sexual orientation. 21. Somalia. Life can be very difficult for any LGBT person living in Somalia due to the country's strict laws against the orientation. Article 409 of Somalia's Penal Code criminalizes intercourse with a person of the same sex and imposes a penalty of 3 months to 3 years imprisonment. Parts of Somalia operates a strict interpretation of Sharia law, under which same-sex sexual activity can be punished with a death penalty. 22. South Sudan. In 2008, the autonomous government of South Sudan adopted a penal code, which prohibits carnal intercourse against the order of nature and prescribes a sentence of 10 years imprisonment. Same-sex marriage is constitutionally banned, since South Sudan adopted its constitution in 2011. 23. Sudan. The Islamist regime in Sudan has viewed homosexuality as a crime against God. Loving a person of the same sex is punishable by death, according to the criminal law of 1991. Even though the death penalty has not been enforced, there is a huge risk of being harassed and arrested by the police for breaking the country's public order or morality laws that regulate every aspect of human behavior, down to what you wear. A tragic incident occurred in Khartoum in 2010 whereby policemen raided a private party where most of the guests were homosexual men. They were cross-dressed, something which is condemned in Sudan. 19 of them were flogged publicly with 30 lashes each and fined later on. 24. Swaziland or Eswatini. Swaziland prohibits same-sex sexual activities under the common law, which criminalizes acts of sodomy. However, the sentence available for this offense is not clear. There is no evidence of the law being enforced in recent years. Nevertheless, LGBT people in Swaziland are vulnerable to discrimination and violence. 25. Tanzania. In Tanzania, social and political attitudes are very hostile towards LGBTs, who face widespread discrimination and threats. Homosexual acts are illegal in Tanzania, and gays and lesbians, as well as transgender people, are forced to hide their sexuality. The Tanzanian government has warned against the dissemination of online messages and short videos promoting same-sex relationships. They are planning to take action against administrators of social media groups, whose members share pro-LGBT contents. 26. Togo. There have been limited evidence of discrimination and violence against LGBT people in Togo in recent years. However, this is potentially due to lack of reporting. According to the Penal Code of August 1980, which is used today, homosexuality in Togo is illegal, and it has penalty of 1 to 3 years imprisonment, besides fines ranging from 100 to 500,000 francs. 27. Tunisia. Tunisia criminalizes same-sex sexual relationships between men and between women. Sentences include a maximum penalty of 3 years imprisonment. There is evidence of the law being enforced in Tunisia recent years. The U.S. Department of State report notes that police occasionally use Article 230 to detain and question people about their sexual orientation, often based on appearance alone. It is also reported that, since judges often assumed guilt of individuals who refuse anal examinations, accused people felt coerced to submit. 28. Uganda. The Ugandan law is regarded as one of the harshest anti-LGBTQ laws in the world. President Yoweri Museveni recently signed a bill criminalizing same-sex conduct, including potentially the death penalty for those convicted of aggravated homosexuality, into law. The Anti-Homosexuality Act of 2023 violates multiple fundamental rights guaranteed under Uganda's constitution and breaks commitments made by the government as a signatory to a number of international human rights agreements. Now you know. 29. Zambia. Same-sex sexual activities are illegal for both males and females in Zambia. Formerly a colony of the British Empire, Zambia inherited the laws and legal system of its colonial occupiers upon independence in 1964, which stipulates a penalty of 14 years imprisonment for people found guilty of same-sex sexual acts. The Zambian government says it will not tolerate the promotion of LGBTQ rights because they are against the country's Christian values. Let us now move to the last country on the list. 30. Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe stands in sharp contrast with neighboring South Africa and Mozambique, who have enacted LGBT protections. Laws against same-sex sexual activities in Zimbabwe date back as far as 1891. The Criminal Law Act of 2006 clearly speaks against homosexuality in the country. Gays and lesbians in Zimbabwe have to hide their sexual identity. Many of them even suffer from poor mental health in this country where homosexuality is rejected and considered a taboo. That is how you saw it on today's video. We hope you watched keenly and enjoyed every bit of it. Has your country been mentioned? Let us know if there are things you would have also loved to hear in this video. Before we take leave of you, please like and share the video, and also subscribe to our channel so that we can boost our community. Be assured of getting more exciting content on our channel. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.